I do. I said, you go out of town for a few days, and it all stacks up.
Yeah, I left mine upstairs because I told him that we were discussing it. Okay.
Okay.
Got everybody?
No, two or two.
Okay, well, we're not going to have the prayer and the pledge until we actually start the special meeting. So if you guys are just going to sit down, we have a work session. No.
Amen.
Amen.
And the first order of business under the work session is Birch Drive drainage. Mr. Bush.
So to undertake this, I guess you have to kind of segment the areas that we're looking at. This is obviously the watershed, beginning with Covington Ridge here. And this is areas of Foxborough, our system, the Foxborough system also. We've got a few existing pipes labeled. Each of these numbered areas are really the sub-drainage areas that Desiree's helped me define. I think they pretty much capture the water that's getting to us, in our system. The key to the whole thing, and I think the most pivotal part of the whole plan would be to try and restore the existing basin or the proposed basin, this existing basin, as it was proposed that's in the subdivision. And the idea being, this is a picture of it over here. And the idea to try to restore the volumes that are part of the design, the original design, it's woefully undersized right now. And it has either, I think you see the outlet structure here. The outlet structure works. It's got a little narrow V-type weir in the front of it. Of course, the grate on top is the overflow structure. But the outlet structure is, I think, appropriately sized and designed. But a lot of the areas around it is filled in, so the volume is just not there for it to function and actually work like it's supposed to. The original design, I believe, plant flows in this area well below the original. Our test is usually pre-development runoff is our goal. But I think the original design, the engineer eclipsed that. I think he went below that original flow that was coming off the property and pushed it even further down to make this function better. Had the basin been fully executed and done appropriately, I think I think these folks probably wouldn't be here in the room today. It would probably be functioning much better than what it is. So I think that's the cornerstone of the project. Once you get that, then the systems kind of domino from there. We've looked at rather segment by segment down through here, and assuming this under design in the basin, that we can maintain that, it makes the flows downstream, generally fit within the structures, the ditch structures that are there. And I don't know, have a picture of the ditches. This is the outlet here, and this is Mr. Doolin's lot. I understand if you're here, that this is his lot, and you can see a ditch that's, it's got a flow line, but basically it's a very wide, the slopes coming into it are not drastic, so it kind of fits and meanders within the yard. So in a high flow condition, that water will span out and reach across there, and pretty much utilize the whole that treat area as a flow area. Under really low flow conditions, it will channelize into the small channel that's there. But that ditch cross section, if it's allowed to be clamped on the upstream end by the basin, it's going to be a much more be less unruly as it crosses Mr. Doolin's yard. We look downstream here, and this is I think Mr. Martinez's lot, and these are the improvements that are on his property. Again, what we found is this ditch is not totally out of whack if the basin improvements were made according to plan. So if you make that basin improvement, these things fall into line, closer to reasonable. Now, there's one addition I think I would do here. That would to be expand the riprap areas, on up the bank a little bit to provide a little more return to keep. Although right now, it's in good. The grass is holding pretty well, and established grass. You have to understand that it takes a very high flow condition to start to utilize these upper bank sections. So if you did the riprap on up into the bank, that would give you the protection for 100-year events. But again, there's a trade-off there of how much rock do you actually put in those locations, and how unsightly does it get versus how big does the ditch appear when you start to riprap. We've done those, and it's not out of the ordinary to to say this cross section to get on up into this area right here with riprap. Maybe a foot and 3/4, 2 feet of depth, somewhere like that. That'd be a recommendation that I would make, as it crosses Mr. Martinez's property. We looked at the pipe immediately downstream, and of course it needs maintenance, and I think Public Works has helped us out with some maintenance there in this location. It was sedimented up pretty heavily, so it should be functioning much better now than it was 2 weeks ago. But the short version is, even if it's working perfectly, it's still it's in poor shape, as you can tell with the bottom. It's almost not there, and then the capacity is well under what we would place today. So it'd be my recommendation to upgrade that pipe, maybe double its capacity. From what we're seeing there. In fact, two HERCPs, horizontal elliptical concrete pipes would probably be somewhere in the order of I've got a size here. Let me cheat here and get my notes. Probably a double 32 by 50, somewhere in that range. What's that? So it's about a 29 by, let's do right, 42 by 29. 29 being the vertical and 42 wide. And it's a metal arch too. So.
How much deeper would the ditch have to be accommodated?
Well, not a whole bunch, because you've got a 30 inch projection right now. It would have to be a little deeper. One of the issues is, if we use concrete instead of the metal, it'll project up in the street possibly. Of course, if I'm talking two pipes side by side, it will widen the ditch at these approaches, but that'll help the inlet function and flow better anyway. So a little flaring at the head walls, I think, would be a good thing. But the that improvement. Of course, we can probably find an aluminized metal that will, still give us good life cycle and still be smooth on the inside, give us good hydraulics. But we can play around with the materials when we get underway with the project. But, by and large, I think, as I said, you know, in summary, the cornerstone is fixing the base and getting it up to speed. If we can, through excavation, restore that volume, clamp that flow, then it will be a much more manageable flow coming out of it, just what we expected, you know, that subdivision basin to do. So I think that's as I said, the centerpiece of the whole project. Then the rest of this becomes just maintenance, and we can, you know, talk about who does that, and how that happens, you know, here with this group. And, but it doesn't look like it's drastic once we get the flows in check.
So
Robert,
is
is
that
that-
basin,
Is that, go ahead, Cindy.
is that basin
Yes, ma'am.
as designed, is it big enough to handle the water that is coming off the properties there in Covington
Yes, as designed it is.
as designed?
As built, it is not. It's a,
Okay, so what does that mean?
well, as
Somebody
somebody,
didn't build it the way it was supposed to
Exactly.
be built?
they
Okay.
didn't build it, or it was either built and either filled up with silt, but the volume that's there is much less than what it should be. It really is. So it's drastically smaller volume.
Robert, is that the only culvert or pipe in that area that you would see that need to be enlarged? I mean, that one right there?
You know, and again, this system right across the street from this, there's a box that extends north.
Right.
We'd have to look at that system
Okay.
too and make sure that those things are up to speed. We'll have to make some improvements there because we'll have to rebuild that box. So, that'll be important to do. So we'll get the right size pipe heading up that other direction.
Well, and that's why I asked, because I think the box is as critical as that right there.
Yes,
If we enlarge that.
Yes, sir, it is, and it's gonna be a much more massive box if I bring double pipes this way and the other pipe grows, you know, as much as this one will. And that's typically what we see when we go back and revisit these older subdivisions. You know, 25-year storms were kind of the norm back then, sometimes even 10. And rational designs understate. Back then, rational method was the state-of-the-art kind of method. And it's like I tell Charlie all the time, you know, somewhere in the future, we think we really know what we're doing. Somewhere in the future, I say this about myself. I know he knows what he's doing, but somewhere in the future, somebody will look at my work kind of like I look at somebody that was in the 60s designing things, thinking, what was this guy thinking? But it's the best tools, the SCS method that we use right now. Does a much better job of canvassing what kind of flows you have. The rational method was fine in its day, but it's a 60s, 70s sort of thing, you know. But that's what was used here. So you might see design flows at 25 years, you know, two-thirds of what really they should be with a rational design. So that's a good rule of thumb. The larger the watershed, the worse the approximation is with that design methodology.
Robert, I just have a
Yes,
kind
sir.
of a curious question. If the detention basin was not built according to the specs that we had asked it, you say that if you go back to those specs, you think that that basin will be sufficient? Okay. Does that mean that culverts and the ditches and everything downstream, would it not be big, it would not be sufficient even if the detention basin is sufficient? You're saying, go back, rebuild the detention basin the way that you originally expected, but we still need to increase the size of everything downstream, even with an improved detention basin.
I think it's more of a massaging and a ditch. Ditch sections are the most forgiving storm sewer system you can have. Because, you know, when we model a 100-year storm and then we put a ditch in there, and then you get a bigger rain than that. Well, a ditch, most times will accommodate that additional flow. You know, it's generous. When you're up in the upper reaches of it, you're adding volume. You know, you're adding so much cross-sectional area with each incremental foot, as long as you don't get it up out of the ditch and, you know, in the house next door. But pipes, on the other hand, are very finite. They're what capacity they have, and that's it. So there's no extra, you know, there's no scraping the bottom, getting some extra out of a pipe. It just has what capacity that you see there. So it kind of locks you in. So, the ditches are forgiving and that way we might add to or enhance the current ditches somewhat and get to that end.
And the key to the pipes and culverts is to keep.
Right, that's true. Well, it's a good point. Excellent point.
So on the ditches, because
That's
we
right.
did notice that when we were walking, a lot of the ditches had grown up so that the pipe, maybe this much of it was actually open for flow because
Right.
the ground had grown.
That's true.
So we're saying we would have, that needs to be dug back today.
Absolutely. Those inlets and outlets on those pipes to function, those need to be clean and, you know, what you're seeing there is accumulation of, you know, that rock will flow down with the flow, you know, stack up in the entrances. You know, silt that's conveyed with stormwater flow will hit a slower section and it'll drop out. You know, something downstream's a little slower, stay here. So that silt will layer in and layer in. So it just needs maintenance like everything else we build, everybody builds.
At what point do you inspect after the developer
Yes, sir.
develops a subdivision, puts the streets in? Is that the time you go in? Go inspect the basin?
Yeah, the city inspects the public improvements as they are constructed. You know, for instance, Covington Ridge, you hit the nail on the head. You know, we were looking at the streets, you're looking at the sewers, looking at the water lines, looking at curb and gutter, and looking at the stormwater improvements too. So
And
that,
it might take 10 years to develop a subdivision.
yeah, it
I
might
mean,
be,
there's still vacant lots in there.
sure
What I'm
is.
saying is, when you inspect it and everything looks good at that time,
Right.
then all of a sudden they come in and start building houses.
Right.
And you get dirt,
That's
rains,
true.
flows in the basin. Is there ever another time that you go back and inspect the basins?
Typically not, Councilman. You know, of course, it's driven by, you know, like these folks here in the neighborhood call us and say, hey, look, something's amiss. We've got a problem here. And we've been at a more recent subdivision with that very same call and out, well, the ditches aren't performing in our rear yards. We've got an issue. You know, how do we do this? Well, the developer's still working in that subdivision. But the things that we see, and we see everything. I mean, we see builders, there'll be a ditch there that the developer built, it's fine. Builder will say, you know, to sell this lot, I can't sell this lot with that ditch on it. So they'll just grade through the ditch. So you'll see the ditch disappear. And then somebody'll, you know, 2 years from now say, hey, isn't there a ditch back here, you know? So, well, there was, you know. And
So
sure enough,
on
you can dig down and maybe see riprap at the bottom of it or see where it originally was.
When the
Yes, ma'am.
basin is finished, in this case, we understand the developer then gave that lot to a homeowner that probably didn't have a clue what he was getting into
That's exactly right.
with the basin.
Yeah.
And what to do with it.
Yeah.
So is that the norm? I mean, do we normally do that or we make the,
There's 4 or 5 different ways to do it. It's probably the least attractive way to do it because it puts a maintenance obligation of something out there on the ground that may cost us $20,000 to repair. And Joe homeowner thinks it's just a part of his side yard and all he has to do is mow it every now and then. That's the maintenance he's thinking about. He didn't think about this thing that we're about to undertake with this. So a few years ago, we visited maintenance of these kind of facilities with our stormwater, our water quality ordinance. And there's a few passages in there as to how to, you know, do this. But we might borrow from that somewhere in the future and decide how to do this better. And that model it requires some sort of chain of, you know, obligation. The original developer really can't sidestep that. He owns it, you know. Of course, the other thing is, you know, everybody wants us to own it. So there's those 2 models, but I think if it stays with the original developer and it's set up in an escrow fashion and it's properly funded, you know, it can work. But, you know, again, that's expensive and it's hard to understand. And you can tell Joe developer, he's got escrow up, you know, 100 years or 50 years of maintenance monies for this basin and rebuild it 3 times during that course of 50 years. You know, they're gonna say, why do I have to, that's $200,000. You just blown my profitability in my subdivision. So it's a question, it's a choice that we have to make. But there's a better model than this one, where a property owner
I think
ends up with this.
I think we're going to, and I believe there's an appetite among council to explore a little past for your experts on as well, but I think we'd like to find a better way.
Okay. I think there are avenues that we can, some public, some private, but, obviously the public side, you know, they all have caveats to how to do it. So, anyhow.
I had one other question. This was all related to, you'll remember the presentation. This was all from water flow one. There was a, west of that was water flow.
Right.
Been able to find
Yeah,
any
yeah.
solutions for us on water flow two?
Yeah, I thought, and I thank you for redirecting the council. I wasn't using my notes, and that was the last item. That Henderson tract is the one you're talking about.
Yes.
And it's about a little over 10-acre tract, and it impacts 606 Birch, you know, specifically, and then complicates this whole thing downstream. But I think the solution there is to try to utilize a perimeter ditch along the rear of 606 Birch, and then down one side of 606 Birch to at least convey that water around. There's about 40 CFS pretty much in a 44 CFS and in a 100-year storm there, but that translates into a ditch that's similar to what you see on Mr. Martinez's lot, you know, a 3 or 4 foot bottom ditch, 4 to 1 sides, that kind of thing. And that kind of ditch could just intercept that flow, routed away from the property owners, well, the home and the property itself, and just, you know, better align it down the property lines.
Would that be a grass ditch?
Yeah, I think very much so, because you would have a fairly fast return from that hillside, but once you get into the ditch, you could control the grades in that ditch, you know, and slow it down a little bit. You might have to have a couple of velocity checks in that ditch. We do have an easement there, and it's possible to utilize that. We probably have to talk to the property owner and make sure that we can move forward with that improvement. But that's something that could be done if you all choose to direct me to do it. But could be something, again, I'll talk to the property owner about, you know, doing it with a landscape guy or herself. So it's you know, again, it's the same choices. Some more public, some more private. So we have to decide which way to go there. And this bigger picture, I guess, whenever we get down to it and decide, you know, how to take on that challenge, and, you know, again, defining those what is public and what is private. Obviously, that's important for us to do. And you know, like I said, that other ordinance, I think we took a stab at it there, and but it's as I told Charlie the other day, it's a continuum from your downspout to Valley Creek, and you just got to pick a point in there and decide this is where the city begins to maintain or will maintain, and where that point is, where it's economic, where it fits us and helps our residents too. So
Regardless of all the details on storing the detention basin back to its original,
yes, sir.
and all those decisions made, is it fair to ask for any type of a time frame as to how long something is?
To get back and rebuild that basin, you know, if we're doing it with we need to at least advise the property owner and coordinate with them once that contact's made. The excavation could occur, you know, fairly rapidly. I mean, it's not a 6-month-long project by any means.
Does that be like,
So,
is that like a 30-day project? or
yeah,
is it-
it's the old money pit 2 weeks, but yeah, it's 2 weeks with my crew probably would be make a real impact in that basin. I think 2 days with my crew, they're wonderful guys and do a great job, but they're very responsive and do amazing things sometimes. All right.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
We've got to do another meeting at 5 o'clock, but you folks, and I'm really having trouble seeing out there,
No, I
but
can't see
you
either.
folks from the neighborhood, did any of you have anything you wanted to say real quick? Well, you want to come up here so we can all hear you?
Rest of the lights on?
Hi, I'm Tom Collette from 604 Birch. I live next to Lana at 606. one of the things on the presentation was, yeah, there's that line that goes through 606, but the one at 602 wasn't addressed here. There's another line that flows, water that flows down that way too, which is on the backside of 602 and 604. I just want to bring that up to your attention because we're having that problem with the drainage ditches have filled due to sediment. So you get a little bit of rain there, like we just had that little bit of rain yesterday, and you could already see it building up on the road. And that flows from that direction. But just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I'll make sure I relay everything to 606.
Because I think the last time we discussed this, we were talking about 2 ditches coming.
Correct,
out of that.
correct. Correct.
Mr. Martinez, and the biggest thing is just the erosion, and all the sediment that is coming down. As you can see, it is already too high. I mean, all the rocks and everything. So it doesn't matter if you put rocks on the side, it won't do at all because the water level is too high. So it will prevent perhaps. For the erosion, however, the water it will still too high because it's still full of soil. I mean, and everything like that. So appreciate it if they can clean up. It would be amazing. Just clean up from from beginning to end, and it will be much better for the drainage, not for my house, for all of the houses, and as well for the 620. I mean, the drainage on that house, that pipe is broken in front of the house, that concrete. So, and also the water flow is so strong that actually it's already making holes in front of on their front yard. So, just things that we address from this one to find. So, yeah, I would appreciate it.
And lastly, real quick, I just want to thank the council for actually working on the project and being serious about it. We really appreciate it, and does my heart good to see you guys at work here doing what you are supposed to be doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ed? No, 4 minutes.
I'll do this quick because I think we're going to do it. I said I'll do it quick because I think we're going to do it again. We just wanted to remind folks that if there are going to be changes out on Woodland Drive behind the emergency room area, if you travel that way, hopefully you've already noticed the message boards that went up last week to try to give early warning of the changes, or early notice, excuse me, of the changes that are going to happen on the 22nd. The city staff, in conjunction with the hospital staff, issued a press release last Wednesday to all the local media outlets, getting information out about the changes. You all have some items on your agenda at the formal meeting here in a few minutes that will address some of the things that are going to come up, and I think I'll talk a little bit more then, but we're trying to get the word out. You can go to the city's website and there's information about it. You can go to the hospital's website and there's information about it also.
Thank you very much, Ed. We also, Michael, we also have Balmoral still closed, right? Okay, all right. Okay, so do I want to stand with me and Bobby Tapp will lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for our many blessings. We ask that you bless our mayor, this council, help us in all the decisions we make. Bless all our employees, keep them home safe. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is the special meeting of the Elizabethtown City Council. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the August 15th meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we have several ordinances. First reading. First reading of ordinance number 15, 2016, setting the 2016 tax rate for real and personal property at 0.116 per each $100 value. Motion to read the ordinance.
Moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Be it ordained by the city, thank you, of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance is as follows. One, that an ad valorem tax of 11.6 cents on each $100 value of all real estate and tangible personal property taxable for municipal purposes in the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, being the same is hereby levied for the purpose of raising revenue to pay salaries of officers and employees of the said city of Elizabethtown, to pay for repairs and maintenance of streets and public ways, and public and other property of said city, to pay for lighting of the streets, the maintenance and operation of the fire and police departments, and all other proper and legal demands against the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Two, that all taxes hereby levied shall become due and payable on December the 1st, 2016, as provided by law, and if any tax bill is not paid on or before January 1st, 2017, the said tax bill be declared delinquent and shall bear interest at the rate of 6% per annum, or 0.5% per month or fraction thereof until paid, and in addition thereto, a penalty of 10% of the amount of tax for general purposes and special assessments shall be added to said bill and collected, being the penalty for non-payment when due. That a discount of 2% shall be allowed on that portion of the tax bill for general purposes if paid during October and November 2016. That the ad valorem tax bill will be mailed by first class to the property owner as of January 1st, 2016, as provided by the Hardin County Property Valuation Administrator. 5, that the payment of the ad valorem tax bill can be received by mail at City of Elizabethtown, P.O. Box 550, Elizabethtown, Kentucky 42702, or in person at 200 West Dixie Avenue, Elizabethtown, Kentucky 42701. This ordinance shall be effective on or after its adoption, publication, and posting as provided by law. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance. Read the first time this the 12th day of September 2016.
Ordinance number 16, 2016, setting the 2016 tax rate for motor vehicles and watercraft at 11.6 cents per each $100 value. Motion to read this ordinance.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Be it ordained by the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, it is as follows. 1, that an ad valorem tax of 11.6 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation of all motor vehicles and watercrafts taxable for municipal purposes in the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, being the same is hereby levied as of January the 1st, 2017, for the purpose of raising revenue to pay salaries of officers and employees of the said city of Elizabethtown, to pay for repairs and maintenance of streets and public ways, the public and other property of said city, to pay for lighting of the streets, the maintenance and operation of the fire and police departments, and all other proper and legal demands against the city. Said tax shall be collected by the Hardin County Clerk. This ordinance shall be effective on or after its adoption, publication, and posting as provided by law. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance. Read the first time this the 12th day of September 2016.
Ordinance number 17, 2016, setting the franchise rate of 0.025% on all eligible bank deposits as defined by KRS Chapter 136. Motion to read the ordinance.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Be it ordained by the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, it is as follows. 1, there is hereby imposed on all financial institutions as defined in KRS Chapter 136, located within the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that for the 2016 tax year, a franchise tax at the rate of 0.025% on all eligible deposits as defined in KRS Chapter 136 maintained by such financial institutions. 2, that all taxes hereby levied shall become due and payable as provided by law, together with special levies heretofore made for street improvements. If any tax bill is not paid on or before January 1st, 2017, the said tax bill shall be declared delinquent and shall bear interest at the rate of 6% per annum, or 0.5% per month or fraction thereof until paid. In addition, a penalty of 10% of the amount of tax for general purposes and special assessments shall be added to said bill and collected, being the penalty for non-payment when due. It is further ordained that in the event that any such tax bill shall be paid during the month of October 2016 or November 2016, a 2% discount shall be allowed by the Elizabethtown Director of Finance. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate being she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, read the first time this, the 12th day of September 2016.
Mayor, these are all the same rates. You did not raise.
Absolutely. Okay, ordinance number 18, 2016, creating a four-way stop at the intersection of Woodland Drive, Hill Street, and Lehman Lane. Motion to read the ordinance, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed.
Be it ordained by the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that there is hereby established a four-way stop at the intersection of Woodland Drive, Hill Street, and Lehman Lane. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate being she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, read the first time this, the 12th day of September 2016.
Thank you. Ordinance number 19, 2016, closing a portion of the right-of-way known as Waterworks Drive. Motion, please.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed.
Be it ordained by the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that a portion of Waterworks Drive, as more particularly described in Exhibits A and B, is hereby closed to any and all vehicular traffic pursuant to KRS 82.405, Sections 1 and 2. The Elizabethtown City Council hereby makes the following findings of fact. A, the following property owner is the only property owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as Waterworks Drive to be closed, and that's in the city of Elizabethtown. B, written notice of the proposed closing was given to the property owner on and abutting said portion of the right-of-way known as Waterworks Drive to be closed. C, the property owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as Waterworks Drive to be closed has given their written notarized consent to the closing, and a copy of same is attached hereto as Exhibit C. Pursuant to the above findings of fact and KRS 82.405, the Elizabethtown City Council hereby determines that a portion of right-of-way known as Waterworks Drive should be closed, and that the owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as Waterworks Drive, the city of Elizabethtown, agrees to said closing. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents, sales contracts, deeds, forms, applications, and statements to transfer said property to the city, the adjoining property owner. The city of Elizabethtown shall pay all expenses associated with the property transfer, survey, subdivision plat, if necessary. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, including but not limited to the execution and delivery of a quitclaim deed to the city of Elizabethtown, the appropriate adjoining property owner. This is read the first time, this the 12th day of September 2016.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Okay, municipal order number 47, 2016, approving the purchase of property located at 211 Haycraft Street from Michelle Grimes, Shannon Brown, Daniel Brown, Matthew Brown, and Rachel Brown. Motion to read the order, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the City of Elizabethtown desires to make improvements to the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the City of Elizabethtown has determined through a public input and review process that acquisition of property for redevelopment purposes is in keeping with the adopted consolidated plan and action plan for the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the City of Elizabethtown has various properties appraised and has offered to purchase said properties under a voluntary acquisition program for the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the property owners of 211 Haycraft Street in the Haycraft neighborhood have willingly accepted the offer to purchase their property by the City of Elizabethtown, now be it ordered by the Elizabethtown City Council that the Director of Planning and Development is authorized to purchase the property at 211 Haycraft Street in the Haycraft neighborhood from the property owners Michelle Grimes, Shannon Brown, Daniel Brown, Matthew Brown, and Rachel Robinson in the amount of $3,200 under the Community Development Block Grant Program. Be further ordered that the mayor of the city is authorized to sign any and all contracts, deeds, settlement statements, and other documents to complete this property purchase. And be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate being she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to fulfill this order, Read, adopted, and approved this the 12th day of September, 2016.
Motion to adopt the order, please.
So
Those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you. Municipal order number 48, 2016, approving the purchase of a portion of property located at 315 East Poplar Street from Nathaniel and Ella Stanley. Motion to read the order, please.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the City of Elizabethtown desires to make improvements to the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the City of Elizabethtown has determined through a public input and review process that acquisition of property for redevelopment purposes is in keeping with the adopted consolidation plan and action plan for the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the City of Elizabethtown has had various properties appraised and has offered to purchase said properties under a voluntary acquisition program for the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the property owners of 315 East Poplar Street in the Haycraft neighborhood have willingly accepted the offer to purchase a portion of their property by the City of Elizabethtown, now be it ordered by the Elizabethtown City Council that the mayor of the city is authorized to purchase a portion of the property at 315 East Poplar Street in the Haycraft neighborhood from the property owners, Nathaniel and Ella Stanley, in exchange for the property located at 313 East Poplar Street. The city will amend the subdivision plat to transfer the property. This purchase is under the Community Development Block Grant Program for the purpose of improving streets and sidewalks under the Haycraft Neighborhood Improvement Program Phase 4. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city is authorized to sign any and all contracts, subdivision plats, deeds, settlement statements, and other documents to complete this purchase. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. Read, adopted, and approved this the 12th day of September, 2016.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
Dee Dee, we've just, there is no money changing hands there, it's just.
No.
Grant funds, yes.
Motion to adopt the order.
motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, municipal order number 49, 2016, approving the purchase of a portion of property located at 201 East Railroad Avenue from James Raymond Crabtree. Motion to read the order, please.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the City of Elizabethtown desires to make improvements to the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the City of Elizabethtown has determined through a public input and review process that acquisition of property for redevelopment purposes is in keeping with the adopted consolidated plan and action plan for the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the City of Elizabethtown has had various properties appraised and has offered to purchase said properties under a voluntary acquisition program for the Haycraft neighborhood, and whereas the property owner of 201 East Railroad Avenue in the Haycraft neighborhood has willingly accepted the offer to purchase a portion of their property by the city, now be it ordered by the Elizabethtown City Council that the mayor of the city is authorized to purchase a portion of the property at 201 East Railroad Avenue in the Haycraft neighborhood from the property owner, James Raymond Crabtree, in the amount of $125 and for additional considerations of removal of trees and installation of a fence at said property. This is purchased under the Community Development Block Grant Program for the purpose of improving streets and sidewalks under the Haycraft Neighborhood Improvement Program Phase 4. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city is authorized to sign any and all contracts, deeds, settlement statements, and other documents to complete this property purchase. And be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. Read, adopted, and approved this the 12th day of September, 2000.
Motion to adopt the order.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None approved. None. Is approved. Thank you. Municipal order number 50, 2016, approving the purchase of a Case CX 55B compact excavator from Wilson Equipment Company in the amount of $62,750, which is the state bid price. Motion to read, please.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Be it ordered that the City of Elizabethtown authorizes the purchase of a Case CX-55B compact excavator with enclosed cab from Wilson Equipment Company in the amount of $62,750 at the state price contract. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. Read, adopted, and approved this the 12th day of September, 2016.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Motion to adopt the order.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Municipal order number 51, 2016, approving the purchase of a leaf vacuum unit with Packer body from Municipal Equipment Incorporated in the amount of $210,454, which is the state bid price. Motion to read the order, please.
Moved. Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Be it ordered that the city authorizes the purchase of a leaf vacuum unit with Packer body from Municipal Equipment Incorporated in the amount of $210,454 per state price contract. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order. Read, adopted, and approved this the 12th day of September, 2016.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Motion to adopt the order. All those in favor? Unopposed. Thank you. Okay. I would ask for a motion to close the meeting pursuant to KRS 61.810 to A, conduct deliberation on future acquisition or sale of real property by the city, and B, to discuss the general nature of existing and possible litigation by the city.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I've been gone.
I get it.